Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to episode 52 here on my random horror review series. I'm your host Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yeah, episode 52, and I've got one here from Film Chest Media. They were kind enough to send this one over for a review, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Yeah, this movie right here, I actually thought this was a completely different film until I read the synopsis on the back. Now, I can see where people kind of get misled a little bit. The title of this film just leads you to believe it's going to be this straight-up 80s slasher, but in fact, it's actually not. It's a film that's based on a true story. Yeah, that actually really did happen, because I know a lot of these movies that say based on true events or based on true story, they're quite fictional. But this one right here came out in 1987, and it is called Bloody Wednesday. Now, come on now, doesn't that title just scream slasher film? I love the tagline in this too. You'll pray for Thursday. Pretty awesome stuff. But yes, this movie right here is actually a telling of the true story that happened in 1984 in San Diego of the McDonald's shooting massacre that happened. That tragic event, that Bloody Wednesday afternoon, I guess. That killed 22 people, injured 19 others, which is just really, really terrible. So this right here is more or less a fictional telling of the main character's story leading up to the non-fictional ending. It's precisely what this is. So, but getting to the plot of this one, basically your main character's name is Harry Curtis, is the fictional name. The real killer's name was James Haberty. I think Haberty is how you pronounce it. But anyways, Harry is of course struggling with mental illness. He's just lost his great mechanic job because he just can't really focus on reality anymore. He's been put into like a mental institution where he gets out pretty much a little bit after, even though the doctor that's been watching over him doesn't really want to let him out because she feels like he might have violent tendencies. She's not 100% sure. But anyways, she lets him out into his brother's care, who ultimately puts him up into this abandoned hotel to live and stay because he doesn't have a job, he has no income. So he knows of this place that's been abandoned. So he puts him up in there. It's like still got furniture and things like that. So of course he puts him up into there, and now he's struggling even harder with his mental illness and his demons and stuff. He starts talking to like the stuffed bear that he has, and he starts talking to the dead people of the hotel's past, and he's just having a lot of problems. His vision of reality is quite blurred right now, and yeah, one thing just leads to another, and he starts going even more crazy, and you got your film right there. So my thoughts on this one. Now, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a really good interpretation of what could possibly lead to someone going off the deep end. I really enjoyed this. It definitely could be different for every single person out there that's struggling with mental illness. But this is a tragic story, and this is just a fictional telling of what could possibly happen. And I think they did a good job. They really get into the mind of this character. They really kind of develop his struggles with reality and what's real and what's not, and I think they do such a good job because they incorporate all these kind of stories about this hotel where these people had jumped off buildings and died and things like that, where he starts talking to him, he starts talking to this bear, and it's a good interpretation of someone that's very, very lonely and looking for some kind of company and things like that. They showcase that very, very well. The main character, or the main actor in this film, I think Raymond Elbendorf, he does a great job in the lead. I think the acting in this film is actually quite fantastic. For such a low-budget film done in 1987, I think he does a good job. It's a character study of him, so there's not a lot of other characters in this film. They kind of come and go in and out of his life in this one, but he really does take the blunt of the story in this one. It follows him throughout it, and I think he pulls off the lead job quite well in this, actually. I think he does a really good job of letting you know that, he's a very mentally disturbed character, and, the director even pulls it off quite well, giving you the notion that he might be, kind of making you feel a little sympathy for the lead character also, even though you know exactly what the ending's going to be. You still kind of sympathize with him a little bit because, life has thrown him a lot of curveballs. People don't want to give him the chance of, employing him because he's got these problems. You really can't trust him. And it showcases quite a lot in this one. And there's some subplots in this one where, he gets involved with these thugs that are trying to kill him and things like that. And he starts messing with these demons of the past, these ghosts and stuff, and where these diamonds were hidden in the place and stuff. So there's a lot of really cool things that are kind of developing this, but the progression of the film is quite drastic. It's a very fast and well-paced film for probably about the first three quarters. It slows down just before the third act a little bit, but with that said, it does slow down because it really kind of gets down into the nitty-gritty of his mental illness and how he really totally just loses it. Everything just comes together. He's having these problems with these thugs. The voices are getting too great for him. He's having visions of other bad things. He's having visions of his doctors that aren't real, and one thing leads to another, and then he's inside a coffee shop, and he starts shooting guns and things like that. Not really a spoiler alert, because the story is what the story is. So with that said, pretty fantastic film, I have to say. Like I said, it's pretty low budget. It actually kind of feels like a TV film at times. It really isn't a TV film though, but it does have that feel at times, and I thought it was pretty well executed. The pacing really kept it going, and like I said, the acting in a film like this, if it's really poor, can really devastate the film, and I think the lead did such a good job in this. As for the other actors in the film, not so bad. I mean, they're a little weaker, little more hit and miss and stuff, but overall, he really does steal the show in this. I think he does a great job. And the end scene is just fantastic. It's bloody as hell, and it's pretty much, exactly what you'd expect from it, because, the body count was pretty high, and it's, of course, Bloody Wednesday. But yeah, as for the DVD here, unfortunately, there's absolutely no special features on this one. It's kind of unfortunate. And the transfer on this isn't 4:3. It's like a VHS transfer. It is very, very watchable, though, I will say, because it didn't have like a lot of glitches. There was one little moment where I noticed where it kind of tracked itself a little bit, but overall the PQ is actually very watchable. It's like a really good VHS, if that makes any sense. So, but yeah, that's it. There's really nothing else to report on the DVD itself. Kind of like the cover art that they went with. I think it's pretty cool. So if I had to rate this film, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed this. I think with a bigger budget, I think this film could have been a whole lot more, actually. Just to showcase certain things that they couldn't. But I did like where they filmed this. The locations and stuff were actually pretty good. And the music fits very well in the film also. So a lot of good elements in this one. So yeah, give Bloody Wednesday a shot. It's a pretty good telling of this tragic story that happened in San Diego in 1984. So... but yeah, Bloody Wednesday, pretty good film. Give it a shot, and yeah, that's gonna do it for episode 52, guys. I will check you later in episode 53. Peace out, homies.